Hello, and welcome to Red Door Conversations. I'm your co-host, Lisa White, and I have with me the lovely Marla Lewis. How are you today, Marla?
Hey, Lisa.
Wonderful.
I'm good.
Awesome. And we have the lovely Miss Tana Young.
Hello.
And we have last but certainly not least, Kimberly Dixon Dudley.
Well, hello, ladies. Glad to be back in the studio with you.
I know it's been a minute, right?
Yes.
It's been a minute.
It always feels like a long time.
It always feels like a long time. I am just honored to be up here with you ladies. Okay, we have a very exciting and informative show today. Okay?
I'm ready.
We're ready. Guys, today's show is titled Homeowner Associations. Are they friends or are they our foe? So I know that we have a love-hate relationship with homeowner associations, and so we are going to get all of your questions answered, and we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, and we're going to come to the conclusion that, hey, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Okay? So today we have with us, I am so honored to have this special guest with us. Guys, she is from the largest association that we have in Houston, or actually in the world. Her name is Veronica LeBlanc, and she is with Associa. She is the Vice President of Business Development with Associa. So Veronica is a native Houstonian, and she served community associations and their members, guys, for 19 years. So she is not new to this. We have a veteran here. We have sought out a veteran for you to get all your questions answered, okay? So I want you to get your pens, your papers, or press record. Whatever you do, however it works, you need to stay tuned to this one. So Veronica, she's a graduate of University of Houston, and she's been with the Associa family, guys, since 2014. She plays a vital role in making sure that she cultivates client relationships. That is her number one goal, to make sure that her client is the actual community. It's the community.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not
The
Kim.
individual,
It's not Tim
Marla.
or Marla or myself. Her client is the actual community, the communities that we all live in. And so it is her job to make sure that client relationship is in good standing. So guys, I welcome to the show Miss Veronica LeBlanc. How are you today, Veronica?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I think you colored it up so well and it just really flowered it. I'm very grateful to have been asked to join your team today, your show here, and just talk about where we are today in the industries and how we help and support each other to move forward and get these communities being what they're supposed to be, what they are, a community that functions well, transparent to their homeowners. The homeowners are getting the benefits that they should from their HOAs, and I'm just excited to be here today.
Thank you so much. Like I said in the beginning, we're very honored to have you. I want you to stay tuned to your TVs. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back. This is Red Door Conversations.
All right, welcome back to Red Door Conversations, real talk and real tea. We have a good show for you today. At the opener, we told you we were talking about homeowners associations, and we're answering the question of whether they're friends or foes.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
We'll see. We'll see. At the end of the show, we'll be able to determine by the end of the
That's
show.
it.
Who it really is.
Right.
Yeah.
But we've got a fantastic guest on the show today, giving us some specific insight about what HOAs are and helping us determine or answer that question whether they're friends or foes. So Veronica LeBlanc with Associate Houston Community Management Services is joining us today, and she's going to give us the juice on HOAs. But my first question, I think everybody, whether you're a homeowner or not, their first question is, what is an HOA exactly, Veronica? And then a follow-up to that, if you can, is how do they differ between civic associations? What's the difference between an HOA and a civic association?
Okay.
All right. So an HOA, the purpose of a homeowners association is really to benefit the community and its members. Usually that means preserving the aesthetic beauty of the neighborhood, maintaining their common areas, and ensuring homeowners keep their properties up to code, up to a certain level, maintaining their property values, things of that nature. The difference between an HOA and a civic association is that the civic association, they're a group that's volunteered to join together to effectively work through the community affairs. And there's usually not a fee involved with that, or it's an optional fee, which means that their drive and their accomplishments could be dependent on what resources they have through those volunteers and through the members that choose to participate.
Okay. Now, Veronica, you mentioned keeping up the common areas and things like that. What are some other benefits to having an HOA?
So with the HOAs, you know, there are I say this a lot. I go out in public just like you do. What do you do for a living? And I often say I work for a company that manages homeowners associations. Whether it was when I was actually managing them myself or working in the executive team, I get funny looks, some funny noises. Oh, that's what you do. And with the HOA, there are a lot of components to that. The main thing that I find in my industry is that we're working between the board members of the HOA and the members of the HOA to kind of come together and work together for the common good of the association. And so what is that? And that really depends on the vision and the goals of the association. So for some associations, they just want to make sure that their park is kept up, their amenities are working well. And then there are other associations that really want to take that to a higher level of lifestyles. They want to come in from work at the end of the day and they want events and things to be there waiting for them so they don't have to drive back out of their community. So benefits of an association, they could have a more developed lifestyle for the homeowners to be a part of through their amenities and their programs. They could have, golfing or tennis amenities, their pool amenities, things that they can do at a lower level of lifestyles. And by lower level, I just mean it's not a lot of events or things like that. You just have facilities that you are using on at your disposal. And then beyond that, going into the concept of everyone wants an HOA when they're looking at their neighbor's home, but when you're looking at your own home, you kind of want to do your own thing. So the balance.
Veronica,
Yes.
that's the friend or foe question right there. You're going to answer for.
I'm looking at my window at my neighbor's house, then I'm gonna want that HOA. But when I'm thinking about putting that pergola in my backyard, I'm not so interested. So balancing those things out and seeing the big picture for the community, and then what level you will see those needs for enforcement. So an enforcement's an issue or a situation that we often work with, and then leading that to the home values. So a benefit of an HOA is that studies have shown about a 4% higher home value than a non-HOA community.
That's good, Veronica.
Now, I didn't personally do that study, but I do see that is a driving force with many HOAs, just to keep everything even keel and moving forward, so that when you do come in contact with your local realtor, they're going to see an increase in return of their investment.
That's
good.
That's
I hadn't heard it put like that as a benefit, but that's really good. So you're saying that you guys have done studies and it shows that home values have a 4% higher that are part of an HOA.
Through an online study through the University of California at Irvine. And the researchers were Wyatt Clark and Matthew Friedman. So you could look at that study online. Just to kind of research that a bit, because I don't often give line by line. I'm usually working with associations and seeing where they are and how we can improve. So I did a little just looking around on those value comparisons. Everyone always says that the value to increase the home values, keeping those at a certain level or higher. And that's a study I found online.
Okay, well, that's excellent information. Thanks for sharing that with us. Veronica, what is the process for a prospective buyer to get documents about a community that they're interested in before they actually buy a house in that community?
Is it even possible to get the documents?
Yeah. I thought they could just go online.
The seller of the community should be able to have those documents at their disposal. Now, I know there's a process to get those through in Texas, the resale certificate process. So there's two avenues, but as a seller, I should be able to reach out to either my board or managing agent to get that copy, so that I could provide that over and through whatever process. So that process is going to depend on who's managing the association and what their processes are. So from an associate standpoint, we did something very different with transparency. About 3 to 4 years ago, it was implemented for our branches in the U.S. That we're utilizing our in-house software, a Town Square app. And on that app, we put the association's governing documents there. So a homeowner could go directly to, for Associa, they could go directly to Town Square. They could download those documents. I could pull up my phone and right now, download those documents and send them over to someone to review. And reviewing those documents before you purchase is a pretty important thing. I want to know where I can park my car if I have guests, or if I want to change the color of my home. I want to know what those restrictions are, what process I'm going to go to.
Right. That's really good to know, Veronica, for, as far as where I'm coming from, all of us, as real estate professionals, being able to let our sellers know, hey, it's not that difficult. You're with Associate, you can pull it up. So thanks for that information. But I wanted to ask, when it comes to a resale certificate, you mentioned that. Why is a resale certificate important? And also, is it required on single family homes as well as townhomes?
Okay.
So one thing I want to add to the last question, where you can find those governing documents, they're also filed with the county, and so those can be pulled from public record. So if someone couldn't find them,
I didn't know that.
I'd forgotten to mention that also. So when you're not working with a management company that has them readily available, there are other avenues as well. Now, to answer your question there, I was talking for the certificate. It's required in the state of Texas for condominiums, but not for single family, which, as you stated, townhomes and single family homes. What's important about a resale certificate is there's several things that you will get in addition to the governing documents. You'll get a full financial picture of your association. You'll see the financial picture for the individual home that you're purchasing. You will see any non-compliance issues that might be also on that home that weren't disclosed potentially by the seller.
Very important. So, Veronica, we're going to take a quick commercial break. You guys don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Red Door Conversations. We are here with Veronica LeBlanc. Today, she is our special guest, and we're so lucky to have her. She's with Associa Houston Community Management and Services, and she's given us all kinds of good information about homeowners associations. Now, Veronica, I do have to ask you this question because it's always been on my mind. How in the world does HOA, how do they increase the dues? Like what drives them to do that?
Right.
Yeah, so that's a big topic every year. Sometimes starting around August through the end of the year, the boards, associations are reviewing their budgets, what their needs are, what requests from the members that they are going to try to implement in that following year. And so the operating budget is going to be a big driving force. And so what in that operating budget could change? So landscaping, water, depending on what services you have. Landscaping is usually one of the bigger ones, but the services that you have there, administrative services, fees that association members are going to have to review. One area is a delinquency listing. So if coming through 2020, very different year for everyone, budgets, looking at those budgets, how much money are we not going to have available? How are we, what are we going to do? Are we're going to have to trim back in certain areas? Are we doing okay? And we can continue moving forward. A lot of associations are able to do that as well. Then it depends on the types of associations and how much an association is going to want to provide for their members, or they're able to provide for their members. We had hit earlier on lifestyles. So associations that are going to provide a lot of events, they're going to have staffing on site to prepare them so that the board and committees don't have to volunteer and make up all of the party events and all the social events that homeowners and members may want to attend. So those are driving factors, and just reviewing that every year. And as you know, just as with political heads that can change in our country, you also can see that turning over in a community. One agenda for one board, and who's in the power on the board, what their agenda is, may differ from year to year. And you could see some of that changing with elections.
I wish there was a
I tell you, Veronica, you are dropping some nuggets.
Yes.
I mean, you are full of knowledge.
And
you really are.
And you mentioned something, I want to circle back to this. You mentioned the word delinquency earlier. And that's on a lot of people's minds, but I think the question that I have is, at what point can an HOA foreclose on a property for non-payment of HOA dues?
That's a good one.
That's a very good question. And in my years of serving communities, that is dear to my heart, because I don't want anybody to lose their home.
Right.
And so an association does have the authority, depending on their governing documents and the Texas legislation that's put in place. There are laws that allow those things to take place. Now, there are different opinions of how those processes of addressing delinquencies occur. And an aggressive approach, and by aggressive, I mean starting at an early age, starting to take corrective measures when a homeowner can still save their home. It looks aggressive, but in my opinion, it is so kind. Because if you give me, if I'm that person that could potentially lose my home, you give me that opportunity to pay it at a $200, $400, $600 rate, as opposed to $2,000, $4,000, $6,000, $12,000. That's not kind if it comes to me aggressively at a higher rate than at a lower rate. And so that lower rate, taking corrective measures to get those taken care of, it's so kind. And I don't mean to be insensitive. I just don't want anyone to lose their home. Now, I've seen few foreclosures over my 20 years, but foreclosures happen. And so when you're working in an early stage, I think it's the way to go, and to be kind, to get people on a payment plan. That's what we start with. Get a payment plan. The law requires a lengthy amount of a payment plan. It could be 3 to 24 months, I believe, that you could start off with and really get things moving to prevent a situation like that.
Veronica, how far behind can someone be before they start that process of foreclosing on the home for past dues?
For in most associations that we manage, we'll start around the second month, letting them know you missed your payment, and you can have a payment plan. You can have it now, and just really get them going. Some associations will go even before it's a delinquency, and they will try to do an upfront payment plan, like a prepayment plan. When we see associations that have a large amount of delinquencies, or there's a situation like 2020, we'll want to sit down with that board and see if we can get them to start a prepayment plan when we know there's already a challenge.
I have one more question related to the delinquency foreclosure issue. What happens, the HOA is second in line in terms of a lien position on a property, right? So if you enforce the governing guidelines and proceed with the foreclosure due to HOA non-payment, how does that work if they already have a mortgage? If a person has a mortgage in first position?
That was my question. Was it?
Yeah.
It's a little complex, as you can imagine. There are some associations that are not subject to the first lien holder. Very few, very far between. As a matter of fact, in my 20 years, almost 20 years, I saw one association governing documents that says that they're not subject to the first lien holder. So for the majority of associations that I've experienced with, right, and here in Texas, I can't speak outside of that, with the majority of those, they're subject to the first lien holder. And if it's typical, if they're not paying their management, their association dues, they're not paying their mortgage, and those will kind of coincide. But in the event that they don't, they're paying their mortgage, but they're not paying their association dues. I may not have all the law exactly fresh in my mind, but essentially they will have a buyback period if the association forecloses. I believe it's 90 days. And so they do have plenty of opportunity to regain their home and get back on track. And then from there, I've not really had to, maybe about 10 years or so, I've not had to go beyond that level. But there are opportunities, just associations still trying to work with those homeowners when they can.
Well, sounds like you guys do quite a bit to work with the homeowners.
Right,
So, you know,
right.
in terms of, you know, we said the title of the show was Homeowners Association, Friends or Foe.
That's
I
right.
would have to say that's pretty friendly.
Yes.
When you're in the second month
Yeah.
of delinquency and they're sending you
Say that,
something
Marla.
saying, how can we work this out? But one thing that I wanted to talk about, Veronica, is this, because many times, you know, I've had a client or two to say, well, you know what, this is my home. I don't want to get permission to, you know, put up a swing set in the backyard or, you know, to change my roof or whatever.
Add on to the
Paint your
the
door
front.
orange.
Yeah,
Yes.
the patio.
Yes,
Cover
so
the
what I
top
want
part.
to know is, what is the process for getting things approved? And how long could it really take in order to get things approved that, you know, changes that homeowners want to make?
So the ACC or architectural request process, it's known by different names: architectural request, architectural committee review, various names that you could see this process listed as. But the timeline for that is listed in the association's specific governing documents. So some of them may require a 30-day response from the committee, a 45, 60-day response. That's really going to be back in those documents to determine what that time frame is. Interesting enough, some of those documents will have a statement that says if you don't hear back from someone within that period of time, you can assume it declined or approved. And in the time that we live in, where, you know, sending out a request into Technologyville, if you will, and then not hearing anything back. Well, did it really reach someone? Do you know what's going on? And so we utilize, again, our town square system, just user-friendly, submitting this application request through that system. They're archived. There's a committee forum where the committee can review and see what information needs to be responded to, and it's time limited to help an association and the board member receive that timely response and not miss an expiration. Every time that those notes are updated and it moves to a different process, the homeowner gets a notification, just like you get a little ding notification on your phone for your Facebook updates. You can also get that for Town Square, and it would communicate with you timely so that you're not left in the dark as a homeowner or a member of the association. And you'll see each process as it flows through and moving towards approval, or there's a document that wasn't submitted that still needs to be submitted. You'll get all that information through that system. It's very helpful.
Well, seems like Associate has it together with the town square and all of that good stuff. Veronica, I'm going to ask you the next question, but we're gonna have to go to commercial break real quick. But I want you to think about this. Why do you think HOAs are looked upon negatively? And what steps can we take as real estate professionals to help change that narrative? I'm gonna leave you with that question. Guys, this is Red Door Conversations. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Red Door Conversations. Thank you for staying with us. So before the break, we were asking our guest, Miss Veronica LeBlanc with Associate. We asked her why does she think HOAs are looked upon negatively, and how as real estate professionals can help change that narrative. And so I'm going to allow Veronica to answer that question.
Thank you very much, Lisa. One thing that I often work with our team members on with customer service, we're the front end lines. When we get those calls, letters go out stating corrective measures need to take place, whether it's a compliance issue or a delinquency issue. And we do live in Texas. I think one of you ladies mentioned you get a letter and they're telling you what to do and what not to do. And bless God, we live in Texas and no one tells me what to do in my home. So it's the restrictions that can come into play. And again, it falls back to, is it a restriction for me? Is it a restriction for my neighbor? And that can be the negativity of, restricting oneself. And but then finding that value in the community as a whole is very important.
Okay. So if you guys have been had your ear to the street with the news that's going on with the HOA, we have Senate Bill 1588 that has already passed, and House Bill 3367 that is going to be reviewed this week. And so I wanted to get Veronica's take on those two bills, and is it a step in the right direction to get homeowners and HOAs on one accord? And so for you guys that don't really know what those bills are, it's the Realtor Support Bringing Balance to HOAs. So we as real estate professionals, we are working, with our clients, with the HOAs, trying to align their just trying to align the thoughts, the actions taken by the HOAs. We're just trying to make sure that everybody is one big happy family. And so, Veronica, if you could give us your opinion on the House and Senate bill, and in your opinion, is it a step in the right direction, and is it what we need in order to get that relationship we're searching for?
So I reviewing the bills that are in play now. So the Senate bill, the 1588, and the House bill 3367 started out as identical companion bills, and the Senate bill 1588 is replacing that House bill 3367 as a bill that's expected to pass the legislature. So 1588 is scheduled to be voted on in the House today. And if approved in its current form, will be sent to the governor for his signature for law. Now, we do believe that the transparency and the intention of this bill is in line with our feelings, but the putting it into play could be a little concerning. And so, a couple of areas that the fees that are going to be charged for resale certificates being capped, that's a statement for this law, the 1588. And there are putting a bit of a burden back on the association, so to cover any fees that the cap resale certificate fee may not cover. So that could spread that fees to the association and beyond to the homeowners that are not in the process of selling. The associations would be required to create and host a website that the association's governing documents could be posted on. We've covered that already, how that could work today. But those, while associations that are managed by Associa, that won't be an extra expense because we have a free app that works with our system, or that works for our associations. But considering small associations that may not have a management company or that has a service or technology as Town Square, but also they don't even, maybe not even have a website. So then they will be forced to add that expense into their association's operating budget.
That is so good. Veronica, there's so much more information we can get to today.
Right.
This is such a great show. Tana, you got to post that question on YouTube or Facebook and see if we can get Veronica to answer that. But we're going to wrap up. This has been 30 minutes and it went just like that.
That's it.
We've been talking and it's been great, Veronica. You've given us so much information. We've been talking about homeowners associations, and we've asked the question of whether they are friends or foe. And I think based upon the information we've received today, we're all prepared to give you our answer of whether homeowners associations are actually our friends or foes. And let's turn them over, ladies. What do you say? What do you say?
We all said
friends.
At first they were my foe, but
Oh.
speaking to you, Veronica, we're friends.
We're friends.
We're friends now.
And this, Veronica, of course they're your friends. I would hope so. But I think home buyers, if you're in the market to purchase a home, you may have thought that homeowners associations are a bad word. We hope that you got some information that you can use in our show today. You can reach out to any one of us if you have any further questions. But that's going to do it for us today. Veronica LeBlanc with Associa Houston Community Management Services, thank you for joining us. And we are going to wrap it up and we will see you later. Bye-bye.